What's up, folks? I want to talk to you quickly about a story that's kind of trending in Texas right now. Texas Agricultural Commissioner Sid Miller has recently approved the use of warfarin or Coumadin to control the wild hog population. Now, I think all hunters, whether you hunt hogs, birds, whatever, we should oppose this measure. Texas Hog Hunters Association has created a petition. I'll put the link in below. This petition is basically to raise awareness about the issue, but to hopefully block Sid Miller's approval of this poison. So why should we not agree with poisoning hogs in this manner? Well, obviously hogs are a problem. They compete with wild animals like deer and turkeys, and they destroy food crops, whether it's wheat, corn, whatever. They'll even take a baby lamb or a baby goat. So they are definitely a nuisance that should be killed. They are not a native species to most of the areas they inhabit, but they've also brought a lot of people into the hunting industry. So while a farmer may have a field, say it's a cornfield, that hogs are getting in and tearing up the field, a lot of people are viewing this as an additional cash crop. They're now selling hunts for these wild hogs, and this is bringing a lot of new people into hunting, or a lot of people hunting in a new season where they used to not hunt, because there's no season, there's no limit on wild hogs. You can even use suppressors and night vision and flashlights and all kinds of stuff. There pretty much are no rules on hog hunting. And hog meat can actually be very good. Now, like any game meat, if you don't take care of it properly, it can be nasty. But if you take care of hog meat, it can be fantastic. It's pork, but it's leaner than most just farm-raised pork. So it can be very good. And I think if people start realizing, these hogs might be poisoned, they're gonna be less interested in hunting them and less interested in trapping them. I think it's also less humane and kind of environmentally dangerous. So if you're trapping hogs or hunting hogs, you're gonna shoot a hog, you're gonna take it off the property, right? You're gonna go process that meat, get it made into some sausage, whatever. Same thing with trapping them. A lot of people are actually trapping them and selling the meat, or donating it to Hunters for the Hungry and programs like that I think are great programs. But with poisoning hogs, this poison builds up in their system over time, and then they just wander out in the woods and die somewhere. So now you have a dead animal somewhere on your property. This is gonna increase the number of vultures, increase the number of coyotes, just potentially increase disease that may spread to livestock just because you have carcasses just strewn about. And hogs, unlike deer, don't necessarily operate in certain patterns. You know, having one bedding area going to a predominant feeding area. They just wander around and go where the food is. And there are a lot of other creatures that do the same thing. So if you have a feeder with this poison set up to kill hogs, you're gonna also be poisoning raccoons. You're gonna be poisoning birds. You're probably gonna be poisoning predators that are eating all these dead birds. So you're potentially like opening the door to a Pandora's box of just an ecological nightmare, just with poison that you're putting in the system that you don't even know where it's going. Now, theoretically, this poison is not water soluble, so it won't get into the water system. Again, we don't really know that for sure, and they say this poison doesn't affect humans, but it's prescribed as a hospital medication. It's prescribed as a human blood thinner, so I don't buy that for a second. Now, theoretically, there's a dye, a blue or indigo dye, that is put in the hog poison, so that if you shoot a hog and you're dressing the animal, this blue dye builds up in the fat and liver of the hog. So theoretically, if you see blue in the hog, you should just not eat any of that meat. But I think it almost doesn't matter, because I think if people are going out with the idea of hunting hogs and the meat may be poisoned, they're not gonna eat them anyway. They're not even gonna chance it. But I think a lot of people aren't gonna wanna go hog hunting if their meat may be poisoned, whether they get a hog or not. This feels a lot more like a politician who's being influenced by the pharmaceutical industry, which that would never happen, right? Sounds a lot more like he's being influenced by a special interest group than truly working towards the interests of hunters and farmers. I think small scale things to control an environmental population can be really effective. Like if you hunt deer and turkeys on an area, every once in a while taking a coyote, I think that can be very beneficial, because if you are hunting the herbivores in an area, but not hunting the predators will build up and you'll kind of have an imbalance between the predators and prey. If every once in a while you take a coyote, that works very, very well. Otherwise, you're having an imbalance, you're having too many predators, and so the number of fawns and turkey poults will be taken at a very early age, and basically they won't grow up. A hunter will let a doe grow up, have a baby fawn, then take the adult doe. So it's basically a 1-for-1. A coyote won't do that. A coyote will just go for the easiest meal. He'll go for the baby. So you're not actually growing that population. So that's an example of how kind of environmental, like individual management of a property can be effective. But anything that's really large scale, like poison all over the place, not a good idea because it's very hard to manage. And it's just once the horse is out of the barn, you can't put it back. So you don't really know what animals are going to be poisoned. This poison could end up just about anywhere. And also, I think the ranchers and farmers that are already having a problem with hogs, they're selling hog hunts. They're shooting them themselves. They're trapping them themselves. They're already finding ways to deal with it. They're probably even poisoning them themselves, whether it's illegal or not. If they have a problem with hogs, they probably don't really care if it's legal. They're poisoning them. But if they're going to poison hogs, they own the livestock. So they have a vested interest in doing it in a way that's incredibly safe and is only going to affect hogs. And that, I think, is why it's not a very common practice, because it's hard to do it safely. There probably are ways you can, but with this now being approved, and an approved legal method to do it, I think we're going to see it in a much larger scale, which is what worries me. I think we're going to see it in state parks. I think we're going to see it in maybe communities where hogs have gotten into a local park. I think we'll see it in maybe Army Corps of Engineers land where there's a bunch of hogs in a river bottom. I think people are going to start implementing this in a large scale. I think in order to kill a bunch of hogs effectively, it has to be implemented in a large scale. I think there's no small scale way of doing this and actually killing a lot of hogs. But also, doing this large scale means all kinds of really bad unintended consequences. Like poisoning deer, like having poisoned meat that hunters, either they eat it or people refuse to hunt it because the meat's poisoned. All kinds of really bad consequences. And I think the government regulation of this doesn't matter as much as the amount that people are talking about it. That's why I think this petition is important. Whether you get enough signatures to change the law doesn't really matter. What really matters is that you get a lot of people talking about this. A lot of people actually thinking and discussing this proposition. Analyzing, is this even a good idea? Is this a really bad idea? Not only can we do this, but should we do this? The more you get people talking about that and thinking about it, that's how you create change. That's how you really change people's minds. Whether it's legal or not, I don't know. The government definitely does not have your best interest in mind, so don't even consider the legal issue the predominant issue. It's basically the amount of discussion behind whether this is a good or a bad idea, and the fact that the government's endorsing it and saying, it's good, go for it, it's not a good thing. We need to be a little bit cynical towards this sort of thing and really call it out and discuss it. So if you have thoughts about hog hunting or poisoning hogs or anything like that, go ahead and comment below. I want to hear some feedback from other hunters, kind of what you think about the idea of poisoning hogs or using blood thinners to poison hogs versus hunting or trapping. And kind of if you think that this is even the place of the agricultural commissioner to kind of put these kind of things going forward. So I'm interested in hunting hogs. I'm sure a lot of people are too. So it's a cool category to talk about. So put your comments below. Until next time, stay safe, be free, and never stop seeking adventure.